Hey everybody, welcome back to Visual Novel Book Club. I'm your pal slowbeef. With me, of course, my good friend Jim.
Hey everybody.
My good friend Devious Vacuum.
Good evening.
My good friend Turbo C.
Howdy, folks.
And my good friend Polahoko.
Hey ya.
So, we, this time, what did we do? We decided to date that other dream dad, Damien.
That's right.
We went for the goth dad.
I'm just gonna warn everybody up front, I keep mixing up Damien and Lucien, because Damien is the name of the kid from the Omen.
Yep.
Which makes me think younger, which is totally like crossing some wires there, so watch out for that, folks at home.
I gotta be honest with you, I was doing the exact same thing the whole time. Like, I kept typing Lucien when I meant Damien.
The way I remember it is that Damien starts with D for dad.
A handy mnemonic.
What a great route, folks. My favorite route. Love Damien. We're actually married now, IRL. Thank you. I'm so glad. Thank you for supporting our marriage.
I gotta be honest with you, this is 100% my favorite route, too. This is absolutely my favorite.
I felt a little burned out after after Joseph, and I was kind of like, maybe the magic of Dream Daddy is fading on me, but this totally rekindled it. This was a good route.
It's a good route.
Yeah, it's sweet. And I think it really reinforces the theme of this game, which is that, it's attractive to have, if you have really specific interests, it's okay. It doesn't make you, this, unwantable nerd, which is, a very Let's Play community, type lesson, a very gaming community type lesson of,
I don't even know what you mean by that.
People like you. It's attractive to have really specific interests if you are also very welcoming to others and, don't mind bringing people in and, you're excited to talk about your hobby. That's attractive. And all the dads, except for Joseph, fuck Joseph, are like that, and so far that we've played, and it's really nice. I feel very oh, this is us!
It's okay to like what you like.
Yeah, and both the individual dads that are sort of generic dad likes, and his opening, our doofus, regular guy dad, can appreciate these people for who they are, but at the same time, all these people are like, hey, we like this guy too. We enjoy that he's just sort of the normal dad with the normal kid, and his the fact that they can relate both ways works really well.
Yeah, what I really like so far, it seems to be a theme across these routes, is that if you're just kind of, obviously you need to be open to new things to get, the good route, the good ending in the routes, but you can't, fake it either. Most of the good endings or the good choices in Damien's route is just being, the normal answers,
Yeah, being a nice person who's open to new experiences and accepting of people as they are, and they're accepting of you as you are too. It's nice. The whole thing is so nice.
Yeah.
And especially in the realm of visual novels and otome games where it's so gamified that you have to try to pretend to be the perfect girl so that this boy will like you. And so I really like that more modern games are not doing that.
Well, this one specifically sort of flips it because it's you very much do not know anything about, sports with Craig or, gothness with Damien. So, and all the writing is just I'm gonna try and understand what everything's going on, but I only know a little bit My Chemical Romance and all that.
Yeah, and I love that Damien doesn't know what My Chemical Romance is.
We'll get to it in the middle of it. Yeah, it's hilarious. There's a bunch of fun references here.
Before we get into the actual Damien story, can I share a little thing I read about how Dream Daddy was first incepted?
Sure.
So the two writers, I believe it was, were visiting either Disneyland or Disney World, one of the two, big theme parks, and they were noticing a bunch of dad archetypes that were bringing their kids around, and they decided basically how cool would it be to just date some of these dads. So it was they came up with Damien as they were standing in line for the Haunted Mansion and all of that. And I could
my God.
very much see Joseph as like someone they saw walking around Disney World.
Yeah.
You mean because of all the cult influence in Disney World?
Yeah.
Of course, yeah. The secret prison underneath Disney World, the whole thing. I lived in LA for a long time. I know a lot of, like, weird Disney World, like, or Disneyland myths and stuff like that. And, like, I don't know if all of them are real or what. It's not fun if you know if it's real or not.
I don't know any myths about Disneyland.
I knew somebody who worked in Disney World.
Well, the Disney deaths are pretty good. So there's a lot of people who've died in Disney World that they don't publicize, or Disneyland that they don't publicize, but there's a lot. And those are all really good stories.
What, like on the rides or something?
Yeah, mostly it's people breaking in and then dying trying to get into the place. Because, like, there's a lot of, like, places where you shouldn't be swimming and stuff like that. There's a lot of death stuff happening where people just don't follow the rules.
Wow.
Yeah. Then they do, like, kind of shady things where they, like, try to keep resuscitating people so they can't be, like, pronounced dead on property, or is that, like...
100%. Yes.
Yeah.
There's actually a whole book about it.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
That would be terrible, though.
This isn't about Damien, but this feels like a very Damien conversation.
Damien would be an expert in this.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, man.
Anyway, so our date with Damien.
Yeah, so I think we've gone through, like, all the different permutations of the beginning. Did anyone come across anything new?
Do we want to discuss dads?
Oh yeah, we probably should.
Oh, yes, our dads. Yes. Tell us about your player characters.
So I wanted to make someone that was, like, complete antithesis to Damien, and I ended up with sort of like a surfer dude sort of looking guy, and I named him Radical Dadical.
Opposites attract, yeah.
I don't know, he's also still got long hair, and he's wearing glasses, and he's got sparkles on him. I don't think he's that different from Damien.
He's a different kind of vampire.
He's a beach vampire.
Yeah.
A reverse vampire. They crave the sun. So, I wanted to just go along with the vampire theme, and I'm really pissed because I named my dad the Impaler. And
That's
It's
great.
great.
It's a good name.
the last name, it was one letter away from having it be the complete thing. So my dad's first name is Dad the, and then his last name is Impaler.
Aww.
Damn, so close.
So every time they talk to you, they're like, hey, come on, Dad, let's go out for ice cream.
It's your cool nickname.
Well, I mean, that's probably good because for Damien, because he's probably the person that is most likely to talk to you by your surname and be like, oh, Mr. Impaler.
But my friends call me Mr. Impaler. So I want to go last. You tell me about your dad, slowbeef.
My dad is Count Sevastopol. That is a city in Poland, but it's also the space station from Alien Isolation, because I couldn't think of anything. But his eyes are hearts colored black, because the game lets you do that. He, I guess he looks a little more, what do I want to say, like Johnny Depp than I wanted him to. Like he's lanky.
He does.
He's got he's got kind of longish hair and like it's like one of those like creeper mustaches. And then he's got, like, two... I don't know what you call them. You know the,
Snake bites.
Snake bites, is that it? Yeah,
Yeah.
like on his lower lip.
Yep.
So, which kind of did, like, a sort of fang thing, which I didn't quite, like, make that connection until after I'd done it. So that was, like, sort of a happy accident. So that's the Count. So, of course, he kept calling me Count, which, worked out. It worked out really well. I'm very happy with my dad experience this round.
His eyes, like, you made them just the black hearts, but the way with the eyebrows, it looks like he's got, like, comic book eyes, like he's a villain or something.
He actually reminded me a bit of what we talked about last time with, like, the secret ending with Joseph, where his eyes are just blacked out, kind of.
It does kind of look like that, yep.
Yeah.
Now he knows the truth.
Yep. And now mine was, I named mine Sebastian Wentworth, and because it seemed fitting, and I won't address the way my dad looks yet. We'll address that later. because this is just random choices of someone that Damien might date, and I'm just like, I'm just gonna go along with the Damien route. And then it turned out that we'll call back to this one later.
Yeah. So I was trying to figure out something to watch with my good friend Beeb Splash, and I was like, well, hey, I gotta play this game. I'm gonna be on Damien's route, which you want to see me react to this. So why don't I just stream this to you and we'll play it together. We'll get through the beginning of the game together, so it's not so boring for me. And I was like, what kind of dad do you want to make? Long story short, we made Tommy Wiseau. I played this route as Tommy. Folks at home might be like, did she make Lestat? No, your girl made Tommy Wiseau. And I'm really sorry, but it's a really good Tommy Wiseau, in my opinion.
It's an amazing Tommy Wiseau. Oh my god.
I didn't start out intending to make Tommy Wiseau, but like, I made like 2 decisions, and I was like, I can't go back now.
It's really great. It's perfect for a vampire too.
I mean, I gotta say, the only way you can I could possibly make the bad dad decisions in this game is by playing as Tommy Wiseau.
Right.
No, Amanda! No, you can't go out!
Oh man, I'm Nerd's house?
Oh my god.
You stay in the house. You don't go out in the house. No, you stay. Ah!
Amanda, you could have been killed. Alright, sorry.
No, please, you guys I can't do the voice, so you guys can just do it for the whole episode. Thanks in advance.
Amanda, why did you... Oh, hi, Mark.
So, let's talk a little bit about Damien. When we first meet him, he's in Dead Goth and Beyond, getting mad that this blouse that he ordered is not period correct. It's not Victorian, it's Edwardian, I guess, and Hot Topic just isn't, they don't really care. At the barbecue, he is nice and talking to Joseph, and Joseph is trying to kind of be like, hey, what's your deal? I asked him why he painted his house black, and Damien has a lot of, like, practical responses for why he painted his house black, and Joseph, like, can't argue with those. It's a very
dad thing to do, yeah.
Yeah, overall, he's dressed like a vampire. He's dressed goth, I guess. I don't know. I feel like he's more like he's dressed like very period accurate versus like goth, where you might have a bunch of different things that are not necessarily like from one specific time period, but they're cool and like black and make you look like a witch. I wouldn't call Damien as goth.
Yeah. I feel like maybe we kind of got away, like, I don't know exactly if there was a different kind of goth, like, what was it when goth started versus what we think of it now? Like, what I think of now is, like, lots of black and, like, vampires and gargoyles and stuff, but maybe it was something different before.
Damien is dressed like a vampire. I mean, goths wear black. That was and he even talks about the goth counterculture movement and like how it is a counterculture like rooted in a history of like mourning outfits and stuff like that are taboo and all black. And so, it is more like he is just like more of just a cosplayer than a goth. I don't know. I think
well, he's sort of a fusion between like goth and Victorian, like almost like a steampunk level Victorian, where like he's kind of fusing these two things together. Goth doesn't rely on the Victorian era that as much as he does.
He's like, if hipsters instead of like the early 20th century were focused on the late 19th century, like that's Damien.
Yes.
Here's why he's perfect. Okay, Lucien I think is pretty goth. Damien is what your dad would think is goth.
That's very true. That's very true. Lucien is like actually goth. Yeah. God.
Yeah.
It's great. I love both of them. I thought Lucien would be like annoying because he sold us oregano in the other route, but he's actually great and I love him.
Yeah, they could have gone a lot harder on Lucien in this route. Like, they could have made him like the problem child, and like Damien's problem is that Lucien is just a hellion all the time, but they didn't do that.
Yeah. Actually, there's two different characters, which we'll get to later, that they kind of redeem in this arc, which is a much cooler thing to do than we've seen a lot of easy scapegoats that have been used before, which isn't a problem. Sometimes you have to use that, but in this particular route, we get more, character development for other characters, which I appreciated. One of which being Lucien.
Mm-hmm. All right, so let's start with the first date. So we message Damien on Dadbook, and exactly like you would expect, he responds with a whole novel, including a signature.
I really like the way they do this because they make him keep... all you see is he's typing. Dad goes and makes coffee. He's still typing. It's like a version of Facebook Messenger where you see someone typing all the time, which seems very on point for this.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah, it was like 7 messages in total.
Yeah, and it splits it up into separate messages, which is great. Like, they both have phones that are so old that it has to split it up.
Yes, it feels like Dadbook had like a thing for this, where they're like, oh, we have to split this up. It's part of what we do.
So, sorry, I was thrown immediately because this dude writes just like a guy I dated in college, and I was extremely fucked up already, right off the bat. Thanks, D-Back Facts. We have to ask Amanda to interpret this message for us. And we're like, what do we write back? And she's like, oh, he like just wants you to go over to his house and visit him and like hang out. And,
but before she says that, she like starts playing us with it's what teens do nowadays. We abandon the lulls and the everything else, but we don't have teen speak. We just talk like we're 18th century poets.
Yeah, and she responds for us in this route as well, and she writes, "Sure thing, dude. Regards, your character's name."
It's pretty cool.
I love it. I also love how we continue to talk to Damien like this throughout the route, and like we're fine with how he talks, and he's fine with how we talk, and neither of us have to change, and nobody is making fun of the other one.
Yeah, we can drop a dude. We could also throw in a regards. We can throw in a by your sooth, forsooth or whatever, and like he doesn't care, and we don't care about like when he goes on his long tangents.
Yeah, it's sweet. So we go over, we walk across the street to Damien's house and say hi. It definitely feels like they almost go in on it being a little scary, but then they super don't at all. Like the door just sort of opens and it has a door knocker and it's like dark and, it's Victorian style, so it is, like a haunted house from a movie inside. And we're like a little unnerved.
One thing I noticed is Damien has the oil paintings, and one of them, I don't know what kind of dog this is, but it's one of those dogs with like the weird long faces.
Oh, I don't remember from the painting which dog it is. A Borzoi?
Like the real long, thin faces.
Yeah, I can't put images in our chat tonight for some reason. I see what you mean, yeah. Oh, it's
Yeah, it's like a Borzoi.
Yeah.
I like that kind of dog.
I had to look up long, weird-faced dogs into the comparison.
The first one that came up was Borzoi.
No, it wasn't. It was actually, like, American Bulldogs, but...
Oh. So Damien's house is great. I think that's the main, talking point here is that Damien is clearly living his best life, and it's great. We're a little creeped out by the house at first, but then we're kind of like, okay, this is just a normal house. He just spent a lot of money and time to renovate it and make it, have a lot of period accurate details, but it's still just a house. It started out as a modern house. And we even, like, ask him stuff about it, and he's like, well, I mean, only to an extent. Like, I'm not gonna, like, go to the, have an outhouse, or, like, what does he say? Something like, well, when I get sick, I don't want to just immediately die. So.
Yeah. And it's funny, too, because as you go through his house, I stopped writing because of course it is, for every single aspect because of course it is. Like, he's got like the majestic staircase. No, he doesn't have a doorbell, he's a knocker. He has a formal Victorian garden because of course he has all these things. Of course he does.
He's living his best life.
And also, he's got Naruto and Sasuke fan fiction.
We'll get to that. We'll get to that. We're walking around this house and we miss a bunch of jokes. And like, as I was playing, we don't validate Damien nearly enough for my taste. You're doing great, sweetie. Your house is amazing. Like, that's a lot of effort for somebody to put into something. And then he takes us to this amazing, like, beautiful study with a whole bunch of, like, a library of books and a bunch of, like, pinned bugs on display. I don't remember what that's called. And then,
like a butterfly wall.
And then we pull a book off of the shelf, and it's Naruto Sasuke fanfic. God bless.
Straight up.
And it's not just that it's fanfic; it's that it's bound in, like.
Did he have it? Did he have it made?
Yes. It's absolutely custom made.
Yeah, he had his favorite fanfics bound into books, so that he would have stuff to put in his library, which, holy shit.
Now, question, do you think, is it his that he wrote and got it bound, or someone else's?
It's his. He totally wrote that. Absolutely. Come on. That's his fanfic that he bound.
It's probably a mix, but this one is definitely his.
Oh, I want to think there's very little fanfic in his book collection, except for all of his, which he's had leather bound.
Oh my god.
I'd never even thought about that.
Everything else is just regular paperback.
I'd never even thought of the concept of getting a fan fiction made to put in your library in a book form.
Yeah.
You can totally do that.
Better than getting your PhD thesis bound in leather and put in your library, because people will actually read it.
Just put them right next to each other.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm glad we got that demographic to joke for them.
Oh god. It's great. Okay, Damien's great. He's living his best life. Like, I aspire to be this extra in my everyday life. Like, maybe by the time I'm Damien's age, I will have made it. I don't know. It's beautiful. I'm in awe.
What would your house be full of?
My house already has a bunch of, like, 1970s furniture, but it's mostly because I inherited it, versus, like, sought it out. But, like, I mean, I was in Roundabout, and now this is my actual house, so I feel like I've committed a certain amount to this aesthetic. My ideal house, though, the set from Interview with the Vampire, the Rue Royale house. It's maybe a little, I don't know, that period, like, it's a little busy. It's a little busy for me, but anyway, Damien's my husband. Important thing about Damien, he owns a tiered silver serving tray, and so do I.
Wait, did you already know the difference between high tea and afternoon tea before Damien said it?
I did not.
Okay.
That's not my area of interest. Maybe if my ancestors were Western European, but they're not. So we have tea with Damien. He has a bunch of snacks and stuff. Like, he has the whole 9 yards ready for us. Like, this is so over the top, so extra.
I don't know about that. I don't think that he had the 9 yards ready for us. I think this is just what it is in his everyday life.
Yeah.
I think he is just waiting in his house constantly with a tea set ready for whomever may stop by. He had it unlocked.
Oh, Damien's great.
I don't know if you've ever read Don Juan, but, like, Don Juan literally talks about how you have to keep everything ready at all times. Like, you should always have one poached, like, quail's egg in your picnic basket, whatever it might arise.
Oh my god.
That sounds like something an RPG character would...
Dad Juan.
Yeah, he is Dad Juan. And he is absolutely an RPG character. 100%.
It's like, I need at least one of these in my inventory. Who knows when I'll need it later.
Don't get rid of that brownie. You need it for the secret ending.
Don't get rid of the banana bread. We might need it later. So, anyway, we don't know anything about this, but, like, Damien's happy to tell us about stuff. But it also is kind of awkward, like, in general, a little bit, because we don't, like, he references stuff and we, like, kind of believe him because we don't know anything, and he's like, oh, well, no, I was just joking. And then we reference modern stuff and he doesn't know what we're talking about, and we're like, no, I'm just joking. And he starts a sentence with, when I was a young boy, my father took me into the city, and we were like, to see a marching band? And he's like, what? And we passed Lucien's room, and we see a Black Parade poster on his door, and we're like, you don't know MCR? You don't know Black Parade?
Connect with your son. Learn that jam.
Communication. And he's like, well, what are your hobbies? What do you do? And we don't care about anything as much as Damien cares about any one part of his own life. Like, we will never care as much as Damien. Our character will never. God. I feel like we don't deserve Damien. Our player character doesn't deserve Damien.
Well, our character cares about people as much as he cares about Brand.
I deserve Damien, is what I'm saying.
Jesus.
What else? We got to the backyard, and he talks about, he has this, like you said, this beautiful Victorian garden. He talks about flowers and bouquets and how they had all the flowers had meanings associated with them in that time. And what bouquet you sent to someone meant how you felt about them. Yeah, I didn't know there were ones for hate and stuff.
Well, I didn't even understand, like, I didn't know the concept of, like, obviously in Victorian era, you're not supposed to be, like, that open about, like, I guess emotions with other people. So they would, like, give people bouquets, and the way that they were arranged could mean different things.
Yeah. So he asked us what flowers we like, and we're like, I don't remember what we say.
Snapdragon.
Yeah.
Because you can make them talk.
I said honeysuckle.
Snapdragon and honeysuckle get the same result.
Yeah, and he says, oh, well, I'll have to remember that when I make a bouquet for you. And we're like, he would put together a bouquet for me? And then he leaves, and we immediately knock over one of the gargoyles that's in the yard and break it.
Oh, fun fact, he gets a call to get him to leave. And his ringtone is a song called Funeral March of a Marionette, which is probably best known. It's a theme song for the TV show Alfred Hitchcock Presents. But it's very on brand for Damien. It's super on brand for, like, middle-aged Damien.
It took me a couple minutes to get that. It's like, wait a minute, I know that tone.
Yeah, I knew that too, but I didn't know how to identify it.
He changes that later.
No, it's the same both.
Are you sure? Because I could swear it's the Munsters theme later.
Nope.
Maybe okay. I'm okay.
I know because I checked because it's like in a different key the second time, but I'm like, oh wait, no, it's the same thing.
So tell me about the gargoyle repair minigame. What is it? What's it remind you of?
Oh yeah, it reminds me of how you have to assemble the shrine of the Silver Monkey.
Yes. It's the Silver Monkey from Legends of the Hidden Temple. It's the 3 pieces, and you have to put it together. I love it.
And much like the children on the show, I did not realize that you could put them upside down.
That was so weird. Like, it took me like 30 seconds to figure out, wait, oh shit, I can flip this.
Oh, it was so good. I love it. This is such a good game. I did not expect that at all, and, like, I immediately realized what it was, and it was so funny. What a good joke.
It's a good joke. Did anybody S+?
There's an S+?
Oh no, I was actually tabbed out, and then all of a sudden it was like, you have to do this minigame, and I was like, fuck.
Oh man, I only got S.
I only got S too. I was wondering if you could S+ it. Because I figure if you could get under like 20 seconds, you probably could.
Maybe.
I think the only twist to it was I didn't realize you could spin it vertically. Or about the horizontal axis.
Yeah.
About the x-axis.
Yes.
So, Damien gets called away. He has to leave suddenly. It's Lucien. He got in trouble at school. And we agree to go with him, which seems like kind of weird. Like, I don't know if I would be like, hey, friend of mine, come with me to my kid's school. Like, that's our kid's school, where both of our kids go to school to help me deal with my kid getting in trouble. But,
Yeah,
I don't
come
know.
watch me discipline my child isn't really a good first date.
But it's kind of played as, like, a parent thing that, like, parents stick together, single parents. I don't know. It's a little contrived.
But we've also sort of established in the previous parts of this reading that he's struggling with Lucien.
Yeah.
That he's having a hard time. So it's more dad support stuff, which I think he almost references, like dads have to support each other. So I think that's sort of what's going on here. It's not great. I mean, it's not a perfect plot device, but it's kind of referenced previously.
Yeah. So we get to the school, and Hugo's there, and Damien and Hugo are friends, and we get called by another teacher into the basement. Both Damien and Hugo are not, so it's Ernest and Lucien are in trouble, and we get pulled into the basement where Ernest and Lucien are waiting. And what happened?
Lucien tried to Cask of Amontillado, Ernest, which I love because everybody read that book in school. Like, everybody read that book. So you know that they know what they're doing when they just introduced the facts of what he was doing first. Where the teacher's like, yeah, I came in and he was trying to wall him up with bricks.
For anyone who is listening that has not heard of the Cask of Amontillado, dude that really hates another dude basically gets him super drunk, says, hey, I got this really, really, really fucking nice wine in my basement. If you just want to stand in the corner of this room real quick, keep searching for it while he walls him in.
Hey, wait, that's Poe, right? Who wrote that?
Yeah.
Yes.
Is Poe the racist one, or is that Lovecraft?
Both.
They're probably both.
Lovecraft is the super racist one.
Lovecraft is super racist. Poe had elements of racism in it.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah.
The important point here is that a teen boy tried to brick another teen boy up into a wall because their reading assignment was the Cask of Amontillado in Hugo's class. And Lucien's like, I was just engaging in the literature. I mean, I wasn't gonna leave him bricked up. I just wanted to see if it would work.
I love the way this joke unfolds because, first of all, it's, they got into a fight, one kid punched the other, and then it's one kid doing a Cask of Amontillado, and then it's Hugo getting mad at his kid for taking 20 minutes to realize that he was being Cask of Amontillado, and being like, I just assigned this to you, we just did the reading, and then him revealing, oh, I didn't read it, I just paid Lucien to do it for me. So...
Yo, I can't believe you're all butchering Cask of Amontillado.
Oh, get the fuck
So
out of
bad.
here.
Of Amontillado?
All right.
The Cask of Armadillo.
Amontillado, Amontillado.
It's so good. It's such a good joke.
Turbo had it right. It's Amontillado. I fucked it up the first time I said it.
It's okay. It's wine.
I assumed you were all correct.
The wine thing.
No, it's Turbo had it. Yep.
The Cask of Joe.
So, they get suspended for a week. And they high five.
Yeah, they high five, but I just love that Hugo's like, he at this point he's not mad at Ernest, but he's like so disappointed, like, you didn't realize for 20 minutes that you're standing in this room and there's no fucking wine here? Come on.
No, the best is when... So, earlier, Amanda had referenced the fact that she didn't read Pride and Prejudice. She just read the first 5 pages and then read a movie review.
Yeah,
The
this
best
is a good one.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, so Ernest says, oh, yeah, I didn't read it. I just read the first 5 pages and then read a movie review. And then he goes like, wait, that's a short story. It's 5 pages long and there is no movie.
Wouldn't it be a great movie, though?
It really would.
Be a very short movie.
No, it wouldn't. No, because now in modern times, they would have to do a thing to, like, pad it out, so there'd be, like, these side stories and things with, like...
Oh, the backstory.
Why is the guy so mad at him?
So, according to IMDb, there is, in 2011, a 21-minute short movie. So, take that, Dream Daddy.
God. So yeah, Lucien and Ernest are both excited that they got suspended for a week. Damien and Hugo are very patient considering the circumstances. I think Damien kind of comes out ahead here. Damien, much to our surprise, for as much of a problem child as Lucien is, like, Damien is a really good dad. He handles the whole thing real classy, and Lucien even says, "I love you, Dad," at the end of their conversation in response to Damien being like, "I love you." And that's wild. Like, a teen boy being like, "Yeah, I love you too, Dad." Like, Damien, they have a good relationship despite all appearances.
Yeah. And it's very sweet. Just it's a little heartwarming scene that, like, you don't realize is going to happen until, like, you're like, "Oh wait, Dream Daddy's going to Dream Daddy."
Yeah, it's good. And it starts with, like, Damien being like, or Lucien being like, I'm not gonna go to therapy. And Damien, like, being like, if you need to, and, like, being very, very reasonable of, like, if you feel like you need to talk to someone, you can't talk to me, I'll pay for, I'll go to therapy, you can go to therapy. And, it's very, like, they seem very well versed in this whole situation, like, that this is not a new problem, but they're, like, both, like, kind of good at dealing with it, even though the problem hasn't gone away.
So it's kind of indicative of the fact that they both have had issues in the past that maybe aren't resolved, and they're still working through them, but they both still have a deep affection for each other while they're both going through whatever is happening. Like, clearly something else in their past has sort of shaped the way that Lucien's rebelling and Damien can't quite cope with it, but they still like each other.
Yeah, because Lucien makes the remark, "I'm not going to therapy again," which implies that they've gone through therapy before.
Yeah, and we don't ever learn, like, what Damien's backstory is. I don't think we even get a hint about it, like what happened to Lucien's parent. Like, we don't hear anything about it. Although there are 2 oil paintings. There's an oil painting of a person who never gets named in the background.
I thought it was Damien, Lucien, and a dog.
Oh, you're right. It was Lucien before he dyed his hair. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
But also it's kind of implied that, like, they've lost someone, at least one person from their lives who was very important for both of them.
At least that dog.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh. So Lucien is not as much of a, like, a angsty, rebellious teen as it might seem. Like, he seems very, like, surprisingly down to earth despite his antics. Which was really interesting.
Well, really, everything we've seen him do so far is he's not dangerous. Like, he spray painted a pew and he made the sign say
Ernest.
Jesus is, Oh, that's the other one.
That was Ernest, Hugo's son. Yeah. Lucien, I think, Lucien's more of, like,
sold us weed.
He wants to prank people. Yeah, he's the one who sold us fake weed. I think he just wants to prank people.
And told us the wrong directions in the school.
Yeah. And, we come home to talk to Amanda, and we're like, man, what a thing. And she's like, oh yeah, I saw that Lucien tried to casket Amontillado Ernest, and we're like, how do you know that? Did they talk about it at the school? And she's like, oh no, Lucien live streamed it. And this comes, like, much later, and it's so funny. Like, of course, like, Lucien's great. I love Lucien.
How many bits do you think he got on Twitch as he was doing that?
Oh my god. So many bits.
Also, when we come in, Amanda's watching TV. She's watching Tiny House Hunting Brothers.
Extreme Edition.
Yes, this is another great show.
Which leads to a really funny interaction for, like, they cut to, like, whatever the dialogue is in the show. And the best part was when somebody's like, I am not pooping outside, Greg. I just wrote that down because it was my favorite quote.
Well, I just love it's the concept of these people buying houses that are too small for them, and then they like cut back to the dad and Amanda, and one of them is like, "Why don't they just buy a normal size house?" And they're like, "I don't know."
I know, right?
But like that's actually the tiny house hunters.
Yeah.
Joe, I fucking hate that.
I mean, because we know we all want tiny house hunters, like, you know, a year later when you hate each other.
God.
Like, just give us that show.
My parents watch those kind of shows, and we all watch them and spend the whole time yelling that they should just get a mobile home.
You've got 4 kids! Why would you ever move in a place that's 250 square feet? You're insane!
My wife loves those shows. I don't know why, but that's like totally her jam.
It's great. I'm like right now I'm way big into Texas Flip and Move, which is where they scrape, like they basically like take a big spatula and scrape a home off its foundation and go take it to a vacant lot where they like totally revamp it, and then you buy it and you go like put it down on your own property. And I love it. It's great. Anyway, that wasn't invented yet when this game was made.
It's like Nintendo Labo but for mortgages?
It is that is literally what it is. Thank you. That is the pitch for Texas Flip and Move.
Nice.
So date 2.
I was about to say for houses, but they do have a house kit, which fucking threw me. But whatever, anyway.
Day 2, Damien sends us a letter. It's a handwritten letter with a wax seal on it, and his handwriting is beautiful. It's a lovely font. And it's written very formally, about how it's like, I've been thinking about you ever since, we hung out the other day, and I want to hang out again, or something like that. And, also Amanda is like way more into this romance than I think any of our other romances. She's like watching us, like she wants to see what we're doing.
She's an artist.
Yeah, she's great.
Yeah, at the end of every date, Damien formally walks us back to the house, so she's always peeking out the window.
Yeah, we come back in and she like rapidly turns around. It's great. I wish this happened in more of the routes, because I think it's really cute.
Yeah, her engagement is awesome.
Yeah, and she helps us write Damien a letter in response, because we're like, oh, I'll just message him. And she's like, you can't message him. You have to write him a letter back. And so she helps us write a letter, and we get a bunch of prompts of like what we're gonna write in the letter, and they're all kind of like normal, casual, or trying to match his style of letter, or comedy option.
A comedy option, really, I loved it.
Yeah.
Like, even though it was the same joke like 4 times, it worked every time on me.
It does, really.
It was like, hey, remember the other day when Lucien tried to Casca Amontillado that kid? Was that fucked up or what? Like, and that's the letter.
Yeah, it's totally like, yeah, exactly.
It's great. And then Amanda is like, oh, we're gonna send it by carrier pigeon. I know a good pigeon guy. And we're like, don't know if she's kidding or not. And she like helps us make a wax seal with some scrapbooking equipment and a scented candle. So we copy his style and then go drop it off at Damien's house. Oh, and we also, we decided we're gonna take him to the movies. And so Amanda's like, buy the tickets, print them out, and put them in the letter. And so we do that, and we get tickets to, what is the name of the movie?
Vampire Crusade 2, Evil Never Dies.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, D-Vac would totally watch this movie.
I would absolutely watch it.
I would watch this movie, come on.
It sounds great.
So Amanda's biggest recommendation about this movie is that it's got a lot of vampire titties.
Yeah. God bless. So immediately I was like, immediately after we picked this, I was like, Damien's a vegetarian. I bet he's not gonna like this movie. I bet he doesn't like gory movies. And, what do you know? We show up and he's like, oh no, this will be great. Yes, I love horror movies. And he's very clearly faking, and we, know that he's faking, but he won't admit it. And we, we get snacks and sit down in the movie theater, and he's like already scared when the lights go out. Oh, poor baby.
And his screams are pretty loud if you're wearing headphones.
Also, they're really bad too. Like, they are not. This is not good work.
A lot of the audio in this game has problems.
Yeah, Damien in particular is like the most egregious case because his really loud voice clips come like pretty often.
And they're not even good screams.
I have a kind of theory about this where, because you do see this in like a lot of like YouTube projects, where if you can't get people in an actual studio, you have them record off microphones. The failing being, and I'm sure they knew this, but like, and this is especially true of Hugo, I find, who is clearly not in a studio, that like even if you have good microphones, the audio doesn't mix together well. Like, it doesn't sound right. You know, like everybody sounds different from each other.
Yeah. It feels like there's like a filter missing. Like there was like an extra bit of like normalization or something like that they needed to do on that audio, and it didn't happen.
It honestly feels like a bug.
I feel like, yeah. It's odd because I think like professional audio stuff is probably like, it feels like a little bit like intermediate, like not amateur, but like screaming's tough, right? Because it's like, you can't clip, but you have to be loud. So what do you do? And it's like, well, you have to be in like a studio or with one of those like, I guess like one of those like mics with the like a different, you know what I mean? Like not the kind of mics we're using.
Yeah.
You know?
But you can also like record a different sound. You know.
Mm-hmm.
Also,
sure, yeah.
and try to work around your limitations.
You can do like what Joseph does and be like, oh, mercy, Lottie.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, there's like other ways to do it, so.
Yeah, but there's a lot of issues with the audio being like weirdly like loud and raw sounding. I don't know. I feel like our podcast doesn't sound as raw as some of those voice clips do.
Like, it just feels like it wasn't post-processed at all.
Yeah, so, sorry, I uploaded Hugo Audio Final instead of Hugo Audio Final. My bad.
Dash 2.
Oh, sorry.
This is so odd, though, because Game Grumps is, like, kind of known for, like, video production, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. But the voice actor for this is not a Game Grumps guy, I don't believe. Because I looked it up, and it just seems like it's an amateur voice actor who, you know, has a relationship with them, but is not, like, one of the Game Grumps or, like, associated with that too closely.
Right. Like, I keep pointing out Hugo because that's Ray Narvaez Jr., who I know and don't mind throwing shade at because he sucks. But, like,
But also, like, you know he's got good mic setup. Like, you know he's got good stuff.
he does. But he's not in a studio, right? Where I think a couple of them might have been, but, like, it doesn't matter. Like, even on this podcast, we don't all sound the same. You know what I mean? Like, you're going to notice the difference. But you're especially going to notice it in something that has, like, good music, is, like, super produced. You know what I mean? Like, that's where that disparity really comes out. IMO. I mean, I know this is beautiful, but still, you know.
Yeah, it is jarring.
So basically what I'm saying is contribute money so we can all buy EVRE20s and
A sound booth.
a sound booth. We can all live together in one house.
We'll all convert our coat closets into a audio recording room.
Let's just make plans to all drive out to a studio every week, and we can just record in the studio.
Let's take 2 weeks off of work and spend a week and a half before MagFest in a hotel room recording all seasons for the year.
Over the new year, which is the greatest time to take off from work.
Yes. Well, you get free days. There you go.
Does. It's right when your time off rolls over. So, what do we do? Oh, we try to make Damien feel less scared by doing what dads do best, talking during a movie. So we can tell him a bad joke. It's not even a joke. Like, if you pick, what is the joke that we pick? We have two joke options.
Something about it's an animal loses his tail and goes shopping.
Oh, it's where does a dog get a new tail? It goes to the retail store.
Yeah, and Damien's like, and he feels a little more at ease. And he makes it all the way through the movie, and oh my god, they have three fake vampire names for this movie, and they're all great.
Yeah, they are on brand.
I didn't write them down, but they're great. God, it's so funny.
It's like Romulus and
General Romulus or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, Demetrius something, and God, it's great. And so we get through the movie, and it has the ending is like the main character and the general's wife fall in love and start making out, and then the two other characters on the outside are like, oh, we can't let them fall in love because she's not a vampire. Looks like there's gonna be a Vampire Crusade 3.
Evil never dies again.
Did we also mention the beginning of the movie where it was a guy opening up or standing up from the crypt? He's like, I've awoken, and the lady vampire is like, yes, my lover and also my mortal enemy.
Yeah, it's so good.
Yeah,
pretty good. Pretty good.
I like the part where it mentions that they all turn to the camera and say it's time for a vampire apocalypse or whatever the title of the movie was.
Yeah, it's Crusade. Yeah.
Oh, it's great. Oh. So, we make it through the movie, and afterwards, Damien seems, like, really proud of himself for getting through it. He's like, no, that was great. I'm invigorated. Like, it wasn't that bad. I thought it was gonna be bad. It wasn't that bad. Also at some point, when we go to pick Damien up, like, Lucien is there. Or no, Lucien's at the theater. Lucien was at the theater when we were getting snacks, and he's at the movie with his friends, and he's like, oh, what are you guys gonna go see? And we say we're gonna go see the Vampire Crusade movie, and Lucien just laughs and is like, good luck! Like, he knows full well that David doesn't like horror movies. It's very funny.
But then he says he's gonna go see a movie about talking animals.
Yeah, and he's like, oh, my friends are making me go see it.
Which he's terrified of.
I bet that he really wants to go see that movie, but he won't admit it. It's cute. What a teen. So then, after seeing the scary movie, Damien takes us for a walk, and we go for a moonlit stroll in the cemetery, where Damien also, like, keeps pulling things out of his cape, or out of his cloak.
Yeah, he wants to have a picnic.
And he just has a picnic basket all of a sudden, and we're like, what? Where was that? And he was like, oh, behind me in my cloak. And he just like keeps having things in his cloak. It's great. So we have a picnic in the cemetery.
Note too, by the way, that does he make? Wait, do we make the observation, or does he mention something about you don't call it a cape, it's a cloak?
Yeah, at some point we're like, I think in the time skip between the second and third date, where like Damien hates it when you call it a cape, it's a cloak. Like, we correct ourselves. So then we have like a kind of a real moment with Damien where we're like, this is kind of creepy that we're in a cemetery, and he talks about in the Victorian times, like, there weren't like places to appreciate art. There weren't like parks or museums or whatever. I don't know that much about Victorian times, but he's like, people would gather in cemeteries and like have parties and like see sculptures and stuff like that, and that it was this place of celebration. And we're like, well, but aren't you afraid of dying? And he's like, I've had a lot of death in my life, and I want to appreciate life, and I don't want to feel scared about dying. I just, I want to use that to appreciate every moment that I have here. And it's very sweet, actually. It's a good philosophy.
So we've wasted his time with Vampire Crusade 2, Evil Never Dies.
We super did! Like, oh my god. But he didn't say that he was too nice to tell us that he didn't want to see it, so.
I mean, he was the one that suggested a movie.
Yeah, that's true. He probably would have liked the romantic comedy that we skipped over.
He probably would have liked the talking animals.
Yeah.
That's what I would go see.
Probably could have suggested a movie.
It's also the first time that we sort of were introduced to the fact that Damien might not be all that he seems. Like, what we're being sold as Damien may not be the entire picture of Damien.
Yeah.
And I liked it. Like, there's a little bit of nuance here.
Yeah, and he's like, not about being scary. And I really like how Damien talks about life and death and his sort of perspective of someone who has experienced a lot of grief and really wants to, and it all kind of ties in, I feel like, to his character, because, like, why spend so much time making your house like that? And it's like, well, you only live once. What are you gonna spend your life being like, nah, I'm not gonna do this. I wish I could, but I won't, right? Like, do it. Who cares? Live your best life. So, I really like Damien.
Yep.
Suddenly, a shadow appears in the distance.
And Damien's about to get a lot cooler.
We're scared. We think it's a werewolf. We just watched this movie. So we're like, oh, is it a werewolf? It's a dog.
Were there werewolves in the movie?
Probably. They don't talk about it.
I mean, there were vampires, so there were obviously werewolves.
Are there any vampire movies now where there aren't werewolves? There's always a werewolf in a vampire movie now.
I mean, they were watching one of the Underworld movies. Like, that's what that movie was. It was...
Yeah, it's true.
Oh, I was thinking Twilight.
Oh, yeah, were you?
Everybody in for vampires and werewolves.
Mm-hmm.
That, or Underworld, or all of the werewolf vampire movies. There's a bunch of them.
That's just how it is now.
Monster Mash, the song.
What We Do in the Shadows.
Oh! We're not swearwolves, we're werewolves. I love What We Do in the Shadows.
What We Do in the Shadows it got licensed to be a TV show now, and I'm excited.
It's gonna be great. Okay.
It's a good movie. Okay.
It is very good.
So it's a dog. The dog appears. It's a Boston Terrier. Doesn't look scary at all.
It's really cute.
You know what a Boston Terrier looks like in the distance, even if it's a dark cemetery? A freaking Boston Terrier. They don't look like werewolves.
No. Then another figure appears, and it's Robert. Is this Robert's dog? And we're like, Robert, what are you doing in the cemetery at night? And he goes, I'm hunting cryptids.
Which is a very Robert thing.
I love Robert. God, I can't wait for Robert's route. Like, I think we should do his route last, but, like, God.
Well, what I like is they ask him if it's his dog, and he's like, no, I just found it.
He put a leash on it, and been hanging out. We've been hanging out together. God, I love Robert.
Our dad can't notice that it's sarcasm, too, because, like, when he leaves, like, Robert and his dog are leaving?
Question mark?
I like to think that Robert's delivery is, like, just ambiguous. Like, it's not, like, he's obviously being sarcastic. Like, it's so flat that he is actually ambiguous. Which I love. I love that.
Keeping in mind, our dad does not pick up on sarcasm well, as evidenced by every interaction with Mary, at all.
Yeah. So, Robert's great. He leaves, and, we take Damien home. Damien walks us to our door, again. And what I love how much, like, we went to see a movie and then had a romantic moonlight picnic in the cemetery. So, like, this was a date from its inception. This was never not a date. And I really like that, Damien's route is just dating. Like, it's very transparently dating. It doesn't try to be, like, ambiguous of, like, oh, we're just hanging out. Like, it's like, no, this is a date.
Oh, yeah, totally. It totally feels that way from date one, where, like, it's very formalized courting with Damien. So, like, you can't not date.
Aww. And at the end of the second date, he gives us a monogrammed handkerchief, and basically expresses that he's happy that, like, we accept him for who he is and that we're, like, patient with how eccentric he is. And, I don't know. I still don't think that our character deserves this. In my notes I wrote, a man shows you basic decency and you just fall in love. Like, oh, someone can tolerate me. I love him. Like, come on. But, okay, whatever. I love Damien. My character doesn't deserve him.
We're protesting too much here? Come on. Yes, I agree. That also explains, like, most of my dating history.
What?
Oh, this person can tolerate me? Hooray! I love them!
No, I know. Oh, I know. That's like, it's like a trope. Like, I mean, it's like a real life thing. Like, I know that feeling too. That's why I wrote it down. Yeah. Of like, oh.
Great.
Yeah. like, it's like you rank yourself after the date. Like, I think maybe that was a B, maybe an A, you know? Like, I totally qualify. This is great.
Yeah,
awesome.
I qualify. Do I qualify to date this person? Yeah, it's like a really relatable feeling.
Yeah.
Yo, if you think US ranked you a cop.
Oh my god. Amanda's watching us from the window again. She thinks it's cute. She's like happy that we're happy. And we're like about to tell Amanda that Damien was scared of the movie, but then we were like, no, she doesn't need to know that. She doesn't need to know gossip
That's our
about him.
secret.
Yeah.
It's a pretty cool move.
That's the first, like, emotionally mature thing I feel like we've ever done in any round, really.
Yeah.
But
So date 3. Day 3 opens with Amanda asking if we're gonna go hang out with Damien again. We're like, yes. And she's like, look, is he a real vampire? And we say yes, and we're his familiar. Sorry, we have to do everything that he says. Amanda, grossly misunderstanding vampire lore, asks if we can turn into a bat. And we say, I think we give an ambiguous answer, and then leave.
wait, doesn't she also say she, like, or we tell her to get rid of the garlic bread out of the freezer?
Oh, yeah?
And she's like, I'm gonna keep it as a precaution, and you're like, that's my girl.
Yeah, it's so good. So we go for a walk along the beach with Damien, and he talks a lot. He talks again. We talk again about life and death, and how Damien seeks to be comfortable with death because he has experienced a lot of loss in his life. Big mood. Wow. Oh my god. Very relatable mood. And I like that we have these, like, real moments where it's like, you know, Damien's a person. Like, and he is also, like, dresses like this and acts like this, but he never feels like a caricature. He feels like a real person who's just, like, cosplaying.
And I feel that he makes an effort to discuss things in a way that communicate more of something, more, not just depth, but more of a reason for the way he is. It isn't just a caricature. He has reasons for this. He may not have gone into them, but they're not lacking. He just doesn't present you with his entire life story the first time you meet him like a normal person does.
Yeah, and one thing about Damien is that all the times we're talking to him, like, we'll say something or make some kind of comment, and he'll immediately segue it into, like, in the Victorian era, it was like this, and it's the way he talks. Like, before we go further in this day, I was like, he's just a history major, right? Like, come on, like, it's just like, oh, you did your master's thesis on Victorian fashion for your college degree, and, like, it's that same kind of way of, like, somebody who has expertise in a subject, like, volunteering information from it, versus, like, I want to live my life this way all the time, always.
Yeah, and it's sort of his version of goth, too, because generally speaking, goth is more taking inspiration from past, but not slavish devotion to it. It's a lot more influenced by current goth trends, which have developed on their own. Whereas Damien's version is just like, hey, I like sort of this aesthetic, but I'm mostly marrying it entirely to the Victorians and their historical accuracy.
Yeah. Yeah, he's more like a Society for Creative Anachronism member.
Yes.
Than, like, a witch.
I do like that reveal where you see him and you don't really know anything about him, and you kind of get, okay, maybe this is the goofy caricature character, but no.
Yeah, it's good. It almost feels sometimes like they originally wanted him to be, like, more of, like, is he really a vampire? Is this house really haunted? But that kind of, like, gets brushed aside very quickly. It's very, like, this is something that other people might perceive about him out in the world, but, like, none of our interactions are, like, would lead us to believe that. So we're about to kiss Damien on the beach. It's very romantic when suddenly his phone goes off again. It's another emergency, but it's not Lucien. And we're like, oh, well, can I come with you? And he's like, well, I wasn't sure if I was ready for you to know about this, but okay, I guess so. And we drive to the local animal shelter.
Which we don't know yet. We walk into a
Yeah,
weird...
we walk in and we think it's like a scary place, yeah.
Yeah, it looks like a medical thing.
It's a medical place where Damien goes along it alone into the back room, heels clicking as he goes, and we see like it's run down and there are animals in cages. And then the lights go off and we get scared.
Yeah, before the animals, I was like, yeah, like the motion lights go off and we get scared. But yeah, as soon as there's animals, like it's very clear that it's an animal shelter. It's like a spooky animal shelter that's not well funded. Ooh. Mary is there also. Mary's great in this.
This is Mary's best route by far. This is great.
Yeah, this is the best Mary.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is the alternate universe where we're not ruining her marriage.
Mary is friends with Damien. She's old friends with Damien, and she calls him Dames. I love it.
It's the best one. And she's looking out for Damien, god damn it.
Yeah.
This is not Mary. I'm just gonna say it. I mean, this is not the same Mary who's kind of like drinking wine at the barbecue and kind of like, I don't know where the hell my toddler is. Who gives a shit, you know? And then whatever. This is Mary's twin sister Mary.
This is Mary liking the thing. I think this is Mary like when she is in control of her own life, not when she's stuck in the marriage that she doesn't enjoy.
Mary doesn't give a shit about toddlers, doesn't give a shit about her husband. She cares about dogs, and she cares about her cool pad. That's it.
Well, good job having 4 of them then, Mary. Sheesh.
Yeah, stuff like that makes me wonder if, like, you know, if all these lines were written with the original intention of Joseph's true ending being in the game, then, like, this becomes a lot more plausible. Like, that she would have these different sides, because this is her living her own life. And, of course, she would hate the kids because they're, like, that monster thing.
Her monster kid and monster husband she doesn't care about, but she does care about the real things.
Yeah, I don't know. So, I don't know what, like... Yeah, I don't know where in the process that was cut, if any of these lines were written before or after.
I'll agree, it doesn't sound like the Mary of the, the original, like, if you go to the bar scene.
Yeah. This is also, Mary's not drunk. She's working. She's at work. This is just normal Mary. And, so she's friends with Damien. They both work at this, or they volunteer at this animal shelter. And Damien comes out of the back room, and...
He's normal.
He's in his work uniform. He's in his fucking PetSmart uniform. Jim, how did you react?
I loved it, because here's the thing. I designed my dad as someone who possibly could date Damien, which was like ponytail, glasses, you know, nice suit with a white plain shirt. And when Damien comes out, he's literally wearing, like, a polo shirt tucked into his slacks. And he's got, like, normal dad-ass glasses on with a pony. And, like, the whole thing where he's, like, just restrained and his makeup is gone. And I'm like, this is what I thought you were. This is the whole time what I was thinking, that this would be normal Damien, and it's perfect.
I love Damien in his work uniform. It's great. He's like... I'm sorry I lied to you. I'm the systems administrator for the IT department of a realty company, and I volunteer at an animal shelter. Oh, one of us.
And I'm like, that's cool as fuck.
It really is.
I mean, of course he is.
Also, I do a podcast about visual novels.
He does a podcast about history, right? Like, God.
Yes, he does. Absolutely.
Oh my god, Damien absolutely is a Victorian podcast. 100%. 100%. Yep.
It's great. He's one of us, folks, in case you were wondering. God. And it makes total sense. Like, he's got his long hair in a ponytail, he's got glasses without his colored contacts. He just looks like a nerd. It's great. I love it. Somehow he becomes even more attractive now. Because he's just a guy. He's very clearly embarrassed about it, and, it's so fun. I don't know, we'll get to it at the very end. But he's embarrassed that you're, like, seeing him out of his, like, whole outfit.
But he's also like, I feel like this is part of me that you should know. Like, this is his big reveal of, like, here's my deep, dark secret.
Yeah, he treats it as a big reveal. Like, we didn't think he was a normal person ever.
And he's also like, the funny thing is, a little bit of the YouTuber creeps in where he's like, I know this is against my brand, but I had to expose it to you.
Yeah, he talks about his brand.
He really does.
God. So, the problem that has drawn us here is that one of the dogs, the biggest dog, a mastiff named Duchess Cordelia, has broken out again.
Has figured out how to open doors and has become unstoppable.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, we all saw that Boston Dynamics video. Big dog learns to open a door, and that's it. So she's on the loose, and Mary's like, you gotta get this dog back. She's gonna, fuck shit up. And Mary draws us a map of the cul-de-sac in order to aid in our search. And it's a really good map.
This is a great map.
This map is everything. This map is everything.
Yes. So, one of the markers, it's just a map of the cul-de-sac, and every person's house in the cul-de-sac, and Mary's house is, of course, labeled Mary's sick pad. There's Nerd's house, Coffee Dad, Kale, Mario Batali, other Nerd's house, and then Smalls with a little liquor bottle, and Dames with a little heart.
Yeah. So I guess Mario Batali's gonna be Brian, right?
Yeah. Kale is Craig. Coffee Dad is Matt.
Nerd's house is our dad. Smalls is Robert, obviously. Dames we know. And other Nerd's house, I guess, is Hugo.
Gotta be, yeah.
Yeah.
God. It's great. And then there's, like, some other things. Softball field.
Oh, one thing I didn't notice is there's a compass in the lower right. And, like, it looks like she started drawing north, south, east, and west, but couldn't figure it out, and then just parentheses that says shit.
Yeah, it's great. and then there's the ocean. It says the ocean or whatever out there. It's great.
It's a great map. You can see it.
There's little cats, too.
I love Mary in this route.
I love alternate universe Mary.
Yeah, I love good Mary. So we go all around town and interrogate different folks and sort of pick up clues along the way and add items to our inventory along the way. We go to the Coffee Spoon, and Matt says, oh yeah, there was a dog. She, like, ripped up my trash cans and ate through a whole bunch of leftover banana bread, and he uses the name that you gave it at the beginning of the game.
That was a nice thing, yeah.
Yeah, and so if you don't give a name, it's grateful banana bread. It's whatever he was originally thinking.
Yeah, and he, so we take some of it, and, we take some of it for later, and we're like, yeah, gonna eat this, and then Damien's like, it's probably so we can lure Duchess to us with the banana bread, and we're like, oh, right, yeah, that's what I was gonna do.
Yep.
We go to the softball field, and Craig and his daughters are there, and they say there was a dog, so we're hot on the trail. The aquarium is my favorite, though. We go to the aquarium, and we look at the penguins, and Damien's like, some say that penguins are the goths of the sea, and we say, Damien, I want to believe you so bad. And that's like our whole interaction at the aquarium.
It really is. That's it. Move it along.
It's great. So we eventually make it back to the cul-de-sac, and we track the dog down. Well, we see that the door to Hugo's house is open. And we're like, oh no, she can open doors. Oh no, she broke into Hugo's house. We go into Hugo's house, which looks lovely, and there's just this huge dog in the middle of the living room.
And also just like, okay, so the dog... The top half of the dog is drawn very well. It's good art. The bottom half, if
is
you
a mystery.
Look, The dog has weird ass legs, like a WikiHow dog. It's got like muscly armed human legs.
That dog looks so WikiHow. You're absolutely right.
It's weird as like because they got the dog top half is fine, face, sure, neck, shoulders, kinda. Then like big ass human muscly arms. I'm like, what the? Where'd that fucking come from? It's a weird ass looking dog.
Not the best dog. So we start to try to wrangle the dog. There was also a point where like Damien was freaking out while we were in the car, and he was really nervous that we weren't going to be able to find her. And we're like, hey, we try to tell Damien a joke to make him calm down, and we're like, how many goss does it take to screw in a light bulb? And he's like, how many? And he's like, and we're like, 1, because they're very capable, especially about finding lost dogs. Which I think is like the most romantic thing our character has said in this entire game.
Yeah. Oh, and also at one point, Damien's like, "What are our chances?" And we have to like quote like Dante to him, like "Abandon hope, all you who enter here," and we quote Shakespeare to him, and he's like, that's funny." Not really funny, but he appreciates the fact that we made the reference.
Yeah. So the dog busts in. We take the banana bread from our inventory and put it on the ground, and she walks up to it and starts eating it. And while she's bent down, Damien hooks the leash to her collar, and then he's like, "Okay, we just got to get her back in the car, or just take her back to the shelter." And everything seems to be going well when suddenly Ernest appears with a plate of pizza rolls.
Oh no.
The dog immediately goes over to Ernest, jumps on him, and wants to eat all those pizza rolls.
But not before we get the opportunity to ask him what kind of pizza rolls they are.
Yeah, we try to distract him by saying, what kind of pizza rolls are they?
It's like pepperoni blast or something like that, and then the dog, like, "Oh, those are my favorite," then jumps on him.
And Ernest, in a twist of events, loves it. He's like, "I love this dog." The dog's looking his face, and he's like, "Oh, this is great. I love this dog." And he's like having a great time.
Feeding it the Hot Pockets.
Yeah, he's feeding her. And Hugo suddenly shows up and is like, "What are all of you doing in my house?"
Did you break in with my son? It's just a young boy. You broke into my house? What are you doing?
Yeah, so we're like, we'll explain later.
One of the options is you can say we're definitely not trespassing, and picking that option immediately leads to Damien saying we're trespassing.
Oh.
And like the response is, "Damn, you'd really just sell me out like that?"
And so Ernest wants to adopt the Duchess. Like, he's like, "I love this dog. I want this dog. Can we keep her?" And he says, "Dad, can we keep her?" And Hugo's like, "He called me Dad." So like, what's the story there, folks? We'll find out soon.
Be a little more sarcastic when you say, "Oh, I wonder what this twist is gonna be."
What could it be? I don't know.
Welcome to the mystical land of fairyland. Ooh.
It's so odd because it seems like they had such a great relationship.
I know. So what? So Hugo's so moved that he's like, "Okay, we've been talking about adopting a dog anyway." We take Mary's map, we flip it over, and it was, an adoption form. And Damien's like, "Hey, I'll waive the adoption fee if you don't get mad at us for breaking into your house." And they adopt the dog. What a good game.
They do. This is the best game. This is the best one. I love every part of this.
We improved so many lives.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, like, Ernest and Hugo have a better relationship now. They got this dog together, and, like, Ernest has more structure in his life because he wants to take care of this dog. Oh my god, it's great.
Yeah.
Mary likes us somehow.
Like, it doesn't solve all their problems, but it does make sense. Like, hey, this is a good push in the right direction. Like, this isn't gonna fix everything about all the issues that everybody has, but it is something that could be, and it's like something that would encourage a family to heal. You know, everything we've done so far makes sense.
Damien even makes a comment about that, like, oh, I think that would help Ernest learn some more responsibility. Which is kind of weird, because that's something I would expect Hugo to say.
Well, they are friends.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's good. And he also says, Damien also says that they can't, him and Lucien can't get a dog because Lucien is allergic. So, I don't know who the dog in the oil painting is. It was a hypoallergenic dog. I don't know if they exist. So,
They do.
there's a hypoallergenic everything. So we get back to the shelter and we tell Mary what happened, and we're like, we did it, and we're all done, and Mary takes us aside for a moment and threatens us because Damien is her friend, and she's like, if you hurt him, I'll kill you. And it's great. I love Mary.
Yeah. Which is always kind of the shorthand for, like, oh, this is the good best friend who's like, hey, if you hurt my best friend, I'm gonna get you. But in Mary's case, she sells it well.
Mary's still a disaster, but, like, in a lovable way. Yeah.
Yeah.
She's great. So Damien comes back out in his vampire costume, and he thinks that we won't like him as much because he's just a normal person. And we're like, no, of course, like, I never thought you weren't a normal person. And we're like, what's cool about you is how passionate you are about the things you love. Aww. And I was like, that's great and true. God bless us, everyone.
And it feels much more in keeping with what they're doing in this route. Like, they've totally redeemed them. Like, they've not totally redeemed themselves, but they've totally, like, gone back to, hey, everything's gonna be cool, and not perfect, but cool.
I also love how, like, nothing about this route, like, makes it feel like our character is, like, falling for Damien's persona at all. But, like, I love that Damien thought that, right? Like, Damien thought that he had to act like this, and if we found out he was just a normal guy, then we wouldn't like him. And, like, was all in Damien's head. It wasn't in our head even a little bit. And I just love that. That was really cute.
Yep.
To show, like, the other side of, like, somebody else building up all this idea in their head, and the other person, like, never actually was like, no, of course I like you for you.
I never got the impression that Damien was, like, acting or playing it up. It was just, he was being normal, but it was, like, his normal side that he was hiding. Like, he didn't want us to find out about, like, the boring stuff.
Yeah. God. I like Damien. I don't know. I'm the type of person who, the way that I dress in my normal life, like, when I was younger, people used to ask me if I was in a play. So, I can relate to this.
Yeah, I used to have, like, hair down to my shoulders and wear really long black overcoats. So, like,
God bless.
Yeah, and, like, be obsessed with, like, Sandman.
Oh, right, you've read Anne Rice, so of course, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, like, I could totally identify with this as far as, like, your transition to, like, oh, here I am, normal person, even though I've got this in the back of my mind all the time. Like, oh, that's great.
I love how Damien being, like, an IT specialist, like, him being one of us, basically, is, like, makes it, like, you can, like, imagine a trajectory, like a goth fashion trajectory. Like, you can imagine, like, high school Damien in the long coat, and, like, and the whole thing of, like, the era appropriate, like, edgy look. God, it's great.
And him being like, oh, I'm never going to sell this out. I'm going to be committed to this look forever. And then him being like, wait, but I got to eat. Okay, sure. I could put my hair up in a ponytail and put some glasses on and do your IT work. Absolutely.
Yeah. And I mean, and like there are so many like nerdy guys who have long hair and have that whole look about them that I met at MagFest. So like it's great. I love it. Shout outs to y'all and all your ponytails and repping them. You be you. Live your best life. And God, what a good route. And, Damien, asks if he can kiss us, which is very sweet. I like when games do that. And, we also agree to volunteer at the animal shelter and which is great because we already know that our character loves dogs, and now we have a thing to do, so it's great. Best ending. We get home and Amanda is still watching from the window again, and it's very sweet. And yeah, that's the end of date 3. Video games are good.
Video games are good.
Cut to Amanda's graduation party. At Amanda's graduation party, it actually makes slightly more sense for Mary to be there at all. And she's telling Amanda about the animal shelter and how, well, if you like dogs so much, why don't you come volunteer at the shelter? And Amanda's like, yes! Now tell me about all the dogs in detail. Like, she's like, Mary just finished telling her about all the dogs in detail, and she's like, now tell me again!
Yeah. And Mary's like, you should just take one? I mean, you shouldn't take one. But if you came and volunteered, you could probably just take one and none of us would notice.
Yeah.
She also gives Amanda tips for sneaking dogs or pets into college, and said she had like 4 cats in her dorm room.
Which is a horrifically bad idea. No one do this. Do not take pets onto campus. It's not going to work out well at all.
But our character also had a dog in college that they hid. So, like, all these adults had hidden pets in college.
So, no. It sounds like a great idea in a visual novel. It is not a good idea in practice. It's going to end...
No.
It is not a good idea in practice, and people abandon their pets when they...
All the time. And, like, best case scenario, it ends up with your parents. Yeah. Just don't do that.
Yeah.
Not that we have a lot of listeners who are college-age kids who are very impressionable about getting...
Don't... I mean, even if you're not in college, don't get any pet that you have to hide.
Yeah. Treat that pet well.
Yeah.
And definitely don't abandon your little kitty on the campus because you have to go home for Christmas or something.
Spring break or Christmas.
So,
all right. Well, what do we?
Well, we're not quite done. We talked to Lucien at the party, and he basically like approves of us. He's like, well, and he kind of also gives the same like he approves of us and has the same like vaguely threatening statement as of Mary of like, oh, you better take good care of my dad, which I love. I love that all of Damien's friends are super protective of him. What an angel.
Yep. Although Lucy does say like my dad's had a rough couple of years, and you make him happy, so you're cool in my book.
Yeah.
So that's a nice like final cutting scene.
Yeah, and our last Damien sprite is regular Damien, in his animal shelter outfit, and that's the Damien that greets us under the cherry tree, and we sort of we talk about how like we're proud of him or something like this to like show all the different sides of himself, and he's kind of like, yeah, like, these are all just aspects of the same me. Like, I don't have to keep them separated. And we kiss again under the cherry tree. Damien is the best. Damien is my husband now. We're married. Any Damiens out there, hit me up IRL. Thanks in advance. Good night.
So there's one more thing about Damien that was basically the only thing that I knew about going into Dream Daddy, but it didn't come up during our run through, which is that Damien is trans.
Yeah.
There's some dialogue you can get about him wearing binders, and that's pretty much it. But the developers also have confirmed he's a trans man. So,
how do you get the dialogue?
I don't remember.
Yeah, I didn't get it.
Oh.
Yeah, it didn't happen in my playthrough either, but it's one of the... I mean, I recall when I first heard about it, it was just like sort of a quick line, but...
Oh, actually, there's one. I'm Googling it now. Somebody on Steam says, like, on the first date, he tells you to be able to wake up in the morning, pick from my closet a variety of cloaks, top hats, and even binders that are period appropriate. It feels amazing.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Huh. It would have been cool if that was in the optimal route, because I think we were all going along with walkthroughs, so that would have been cool in the optimal route, yeah.
I was not, and my wild card ways. Yeah, I actually did not get Damien at the end. He says that it's not going to work out.
Oh.
He says we can still be friends, though.
Well, that's good.
He's a cool guy.
Yeah, Damien's great. Oh man, it's like, gosh, man, this game and how it brings up like really liking, like really being into a specific interest and like really being passionate as an attractive trait. I just love it. That is the one thing about this game that I love the most, and I think is such a great thing that it exists.
Well, it's also a really great, like, it's a good kind of life lesson. Like, again, you only get one life, you're only young once, and you absolutely should be passionate about things and be open about them and enjoy them.
Yeah, and I think the stereotypes, right? So it plays with a lot of, like, not too, like, hardcore stereotypes. It plays with stereotypes in more of a generic way, because we're mostly talking about dads who are male and aren't, like, one particular, like, description. Like, these are all buff, good-looking, muscly dads. And so, like, the stereotypes aren't going to hurt them as much, but it also, the stereotypes it puts out there aren't, are never things that are, like, going to be negative. But at the same time, it kind of opens it up to be like, don't discriminate against somebody because of them. So it doesn't play with, like, the ideas of race and gender, but it does play with the ideas of sort of, like, who you're going to wall yourself off from. And if these people, like, you don't need to wall yourself off from anyone. And Dream Daddy loves to remain open and remain, like, receptive to lots of different ideas within its small context. But it's a very nice, small version of acceptance, which I think works really well in this.
Yeah, it's very high level, and yeah. And that's why Joseph's true ending feels weird. Also, you know, because we're at a much more like we're not getting into serious identity politics in Dream Daddy. That's not what it's for, and that's fine. That's great. And it's sweet, and it makes you feel warm and fuzzy inside, and I like it.
And sometimes you just need that. You just need to feel nice, and it does that really well. Yeah,
for real. What a good game. So yeah, obviously Damien's my favorite route so far. But I think it's the same kind of thread that we saw with Craig and Matt. It's just like what interest most appeals to you personally. And obviously mine is vampires.
Vampires who love dogs.
Exactly.
That's just a plus, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, come on. Which one of us can turn down a vampire who loves dogs? None.
I mean, the vampire Lestat has a dog, canonically. His name is Mojo.
Yeah, I know.
Oh my
yes!
god.
You didn't have to tell me Mojo's name. Come on.
Yes! Knock! Oh my god, no. Not on the podcast. Hello. Next time.
So what do we go for next?
Who are we gonna date next? We
Hugo.
got Hugo.
Yeah,
Hugo
I
or
gotta
Brian?
do Hugo, right?
Yeah.
For Ernest, yeah.
Bridge it together.
Yeah, it's Hugo.
What's going on with that situation? Get ready for more audio.
Yeah.
All right, folks. Join us next time for Hugo's route in Dream Daddy.